There's a couple brand new Nintendo Switch stories we need to talk about today, starting with Sonic Frontiers getting some brand new questions answered as IGN has now wrapped up their series of IGN First coverage for this game. Then the big talking point for today's video has to do with Nintendo Switch Online, some mystery NSO app maintenance that was spotted with apparently no new updates that are notable, and a broad conversation of when we can expect Nintendo to actually come out and officially update the roadmap for the service going forward. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we got a couple different stories to unpack today, and we have to kick it off with a conversation around Sonic Frontiers, as that game is now wrapping up its media coverage partnership that they made with IGN around the IGN First series. And I honestly do think, to start off the conversation, that was the big misstep around marketing this game, because if you saw the Nintendo Direct mini partner showcase, I think that is how you show off a game like Sonic Frontiers, with very hype, strung together portions of gameplay that highlight all of the exciting things to expect, like fast action combat, like rail hopping and quick boosting speeds, like the big open worlds. But just for a brief moment, IGN went in and did their own series of individual, only show off the exploration itself, with avoiding any kind of combat along the way, because they weren't trying to focus on combat in that video. Then we got one dedicated to enemy combat, which looked a little bit better, but also left a lot of fans wondering, what are you doing in this world? And the most recent IGN First video did actually go in and answer a lot of fan questions, specifically around some of the zones that we saw featured at that Nintendo Direct trailer, because that was one of the big things that stuck out to me. We definitely saw Sonic straight up teleport to areas that looked like a full-on city, and then we find out there was a Green Hill style zone area. So there was some exciting stuff from that, and apparently these little cyber zones are mini levels within the open zones, some of which apparently are harder to find than others, because the gentleman at IGN even said that one of his colleagues that played the game found a zone that he didn't even know of or come across because it was on a completely different path in the open zone, which sounds enticing. And these are more of a linear, quick challenge type of level, if you will, because apparently these tie into how you unlock the Chaos Emeralds and ultimately, I would assume, turn into Supersonic in this game. And in addition to things like Green Hill and the highway type zone, there's even one based off of Chemical Plant, which is of course a throwback to the classic 2D Sonic games, and some kind of Sky Temple zone that the person couldn't confirm if it was tied to a different level design or not, but just maybe something entirely brand new. And one question that was asked is, how long are these zones and how big of a part of the game are they? And it does sound like they are fairly short, however, not in a bad way, but rather very enjoyable stages that you may want to try time and time again, as there are 5 different goals you need to complete when you're in there, with each one him saying even on his first playthrough, most levels being able to complete them, or zones rather, being able to complete them within about a 2-minute time span, give or take, with a lot of different things, like the classic what you'd expect from Sonic, being like a full-on boost section of the level, then a rail section of the level, then some platforming, and then you're ultimately at the end. And it does sound like the layout changes drastically from zone to zone, and also one being entirely 2D focused, being the one that was further off in the open area that only that other player found. So I'm all in for some 2D specific zones that are kind of reminiscent of the old school Sonic experience, but all while having the 3D combat and 3D world. I'm definitely more excited for this game. As we saw it at the Nintendo Direct, I really needed to see some kind of hype trailer like that to get me bought back in. I'm still not entirely sold that it's going to be quality through and through, as we've just seen so many missteps with Sega over the years, but it is confirmed that it has things like an upgradable combat system, which I think is very good for the Blue Hedgehog to have. And maybe you start to get into that want to go unlock all of Sonic's different combat abilities as it does get more advanced as time goes on. And apparently there's even a blue boost that is unlocked later on. There's no footage of this that IGN captured, but they did say that it makes him go so ridiculously fast that fans should not be worried about this game feeling like Sonic has speed or not. So I'm glad to hear that there are things like unlockables, different unique level layouts, because, you know, obviously we're only seeing the beginning of this game when we are seeing that vast green forest area, but I was a little bit concerned with how much stuff there would be to do in this open world type zone layout, whatever you want to call it. They're classifying it as open zone, so I'm assuming once you get through that forest area and you get through all of the little mini cyber zones that are inside of there, then you're going to progress to an entirely different themed area, hopefully with different themed combat, and it's not just the same enemies pasted into a new world. I'm hoping we see a lot of unique character design here, but we don't have to wait too much longer to find out what all this game is going to entail, as it's still slated for a holiday 2022 release. release. That was reiterated at the Direct Mini, so we should be expecting probably something like a late November or even early December potentially launch date for this game. And I'm also relieved that it does look and run great by all accounts on the Switch so far. It does look like it's going to be a 30 FPS game, which I think is probably expected, but I do think that it's something that is definitely worth keeping your eyes on for Sonic fans out there, or even if you're somebody who has historically gotten out of the 3D games over the course of time like I have. This may be worth checking out, as this is apparently going to be the new direction and layout for Sonic games for the next 10 years plus going forward, according to the chief lead of the project itself. So I want to hear from you guys on all things Sonic Frontiers, your hype levels for it so far. How do you feel with all of the new footage that we've seen about it recently? Are you more or less bought into this game now as we learn more and more about it? So please share all your thoughts and feelings on all things Sonic Frontiers in the comments down below. Now, the other story we're talking about today has to do with Nintendo Switch Online and addressing when can we expect Nintendo to actually update the roadmap for the future of this service, because clearly we wrapped up the N64 games library in June with Pokemon Snap, and there is no officially announced N64 games going forward. And up to this point in time, since the service originally launched back in October, we have gotten historically one new N64 game per month added into the library. I should say, since they started adding N64 games, as clearly right after the service launched, there was a few months that went by before we started getting those new games added in, and there was some maintenance spotted around the Nintendo Switch Online app itself. However, it appears that this ties into Animal Crossing specifically and some functionality, as it does say Nook Link on under the portion of the NSO app that they're working on. However, there is a big talking point around this from users online speculating when there is online maintenance scheduled, like when are we going to get some kind of confirmation or announcement around things like future N64 games and around things like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC, because if you've been around on the channel for a while, you may know that I fully expected Nintendo to align their Mario Kart 8 Booster Course Wave announcements with Nintendo Direct presentations, because it would just make sense if they stuck to their regular schedule, where you get a mainline Direct in typically February, then June, then September, and then the new Booster Course Wave comes out about a week after it launches, and that would have made perfect sense to carry us through all the way through the end of 2023 with the 6 waves we're expecting to see for this stuff. But then Nintendo goes and does the mini partner showcase and the Xenoblade Direct, and we really have no clear indication on if they're planning anything in terms of a summertime presentation. Is there the possibility that we get a Nintendo Direct Mini in July, and that's where they show up with this kind of announcements and it's all just first party based? Yes, it is, but then it also makes me think, why would they not just include the third party announcements that they did at the previous partner showcase and not just make it a mainline general Direct? Like, yes, they had a lot to show in the way of third-party partners, so maybe they just want to break off and focus on things individually. But if I'm a betting man, I think it's more likely we may see something like a Splatoon 3 Direct over the summertime, and that there's really no major announcements coming in terms of brand new first-party Nintendo games until something like the September Nintendo Direct. And if that is the case, do we continue to see N64 and or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC support during this time frame? And clearly it's a coin toss, because you can never tell for sure with Nintendo, but I would like to see them stick to this one game per month schedule, and I hope that this is not the tapering off of consistency with N64 app updates, because what we do see historically from Nintendo with these subscription services is a very front heavy loadout of classic games that you want to see, and then before you know it, it slowly turns into not a monthly update, but rather once every 3 months. We went 6 months once upon a time without seeing any new NES or SNES games added into the service, and even the most recent updates being really less than desirable titles that I don't think many fans were asking for out there at all. And while there's a chance I think Nintendo could get inconsistent with the service, I also think it's more likely, outside of any kind of conversation with a Nintendo Direct taking place, I think it's not that unlikely for them to just do these as separate standalone Twitter drop announcements, where they just surprise, here's the new trailer for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 2. We probably get that over summertime, and we probably get Wave 3 announced at the September Direct, providing they stick to that plan and nothing changes with it. But then I also think we get stuff like the updated N64 roadmap, as I don't think we're done with N64 games. If you're a paying subscriber for the NSO expansion pack, they're going to want to keep you enticed and also give you a reason to resubscribe, especially around that September-October time window when a lot of people actually upgraded their memberships to this expansion pack service. And So they still have plenty of titles to add into this thing outside of the prospect of new game systems like GBA and both Game Boy and Game Boy Color. So it's like they have time to continue to build out this service, and I just am hopeful that we don't see them go long periods of time with no communication. So we would need to see them announce something in the way of new N64 games in July, and whether or not they just cherry pick one game and they don't give us any kind of updated roadmap, that's definitely a possibility as well. Like, do we just get some kind of brand new Mario Party 1 announcement or Donkey Kong 64 announcement, and then we have no indication what's coming after that? Like, they could definitely turn that into this direction instead of doing that infograph where it shows all of the upcoming titles that they're working on. Like, we could see them shift to that. But regardless of how they do it, I do not believe that they're done with N64 games. We had that previous data mine that did suggest that roughly 38 titles are already coded in to the N64 app, and I do think that we will ultimately see them slowly drip feed and grow the library of N64 games. Even though we have some of the big ones out there already done with, we still have a ton missing, and we're not even going to bring up GoldenEye because I don't know what the deal is with that, but I'm so ready for it. But regardless, I do think that whether we get that as part of NSO or a standalone remaster, I hope we get this stuff soon, and I hope that the summer announcements are not ultimately done. But at the end of the day, as Nintendo fans, this is a polarizing company to follow, because while they are very exciting and surprising at certain times, they are also the least communicative company by far and away out of any of the ones out there, and we always have to guess and make theories on what they might be planning. And even if you just try to look at history and assume that they're going to repeat that, there are just plain out certain years that they don't whatsoever, and we are definitely in one of those now. But regardless of all of that, I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and theories, speculation around what we're going to see with the future of Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Do you think we get some kind of trailer that updates the next 5 to 10 games that are headed to the NSO N64 service side of things? Do you think Nintendo shifts to a one new title reveal per month and we do get something like that in July? Do you think we go months without hearing anything from them and then we have to wait until September to get any kind of further updates on the service? And what do you think the deal is with Mario Kart Booster Course Pass Wave 2? Do you think we're getting it this summer, or do you think we do have to wait longer till another direct presentation for them to reveal something like that? Also, make sure you share your hype levels with me on all things Sonic Frontiers. So regardless of your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, where we discussed some very interesting numbers that came out of Nintendo's most recent investors meeting that has a lot of people talking online suggesting that maybe is this Nintendo actually planning for some kind of brand new hardware. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.